everybody, it's Robin
and Karen.
Welcome to the first episode of Seeking Center. This is the start of a new journey that we're on together with you. Our intention is to introduce you to practices and spiritual modalities that you may have never heard of and give you ways to incorporate them into your everyday life so that you can experience the magic for yourself.
Some of you may have already listened to our Seeking with Robin podcast and already know us as die-hard seekers. And we want to introduce new healers and practitioners to you in this new podcast, Seeking Center.
We are committed to talking to these healers, practitioners, and teachers with the lens of how to integrate what they have to teach you into your real life for the betterment of your soul.
And listen, we know that there's a lot of programming out there now around mindfulness and self-help and even seeking practices, but we wanted to create this space because we haven't been able to find a place that breaks things down in a way that makes it normal and easy to understand. So more mediums, more astrologers, more shamans, more intuitives. Plus, we'll also be talking with some of the healers and practitioners that you met on Seeking with Robin as well. There are even more practices we didn't even know existed, and we can't wait to share them with you all.
And that's why Seeking Center is a destination and a journey. It needs to reflect the world we're living in. We need to keep it real. So on that note, let's just take a moment to talk about the shit show that was January.
Oh gosh, yes.
Right. I mean, normally January is this time to start over. It's all about resetting. But Karen and I have been talking. We feel like this year, going into 2022, it doesn't feel like much has changed.
No, I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, with every January, you have that feeling, right? You come into January 1st, that new year has rung in and that everything is going to be new and fresh. You can recharge, you have your resolutions, you're going to reinvigorate your life. And then we woke up, I think, feeling like everything just looked the same. It felt more of the same. COVID was still happening. Our whole family had it. We couldn't get out and about and do the things that we wanted to do. And it just felt like a letdown. And how do you start a new year feeling that way?
Yeah, it's like that energy from 2020 and 2021 definitely felt like it followed us into 2022. And I know when you and I have been talking, Karen, this month has hammered home the lessons that the universe has been trying to teach us over the last few years. It really has shaken us up so that we don't go back to, in quotes, normal.
We jump into a new year. We want to restart someplace in our lives, especially now with all the crazy. We want there to be some sense of something new and fresh and exciting and meaningful to look forward to. But how do you do that when you're sort of in the midst of the heaviness of where we are today?
It really is about how do we rise up to these challenges? And that's what we're here to share. So as you just said, like you're still in some ways recovering from COVID as well as your family. I know for me, I had several friends go through tremendous loss over late December and into January. And it does feel like it's learning how to really take everything that we've been learning over these last few years about listening to our bodies, about slowing down and paying attention to what's important, what's really important, getting to the root of that, right? So it's really getting honest with yourself. And that's what we're here to show you these different ways of getting to that place if you're not able to get there on your own. And then taking that into 2022, which what you and I really do believe is that there's new energy coming in. So here we are on January 31st of 2022, looking back at this yucky month. I mean, it just does feel like yuck.
It does.
It does.
But I think that's what you and I have kind of come together with, this friendship, partnership, soul sistership, because every day we're continually having to reset ourselves together, right?
Yes,
we're going into these conversations that we have, always looking for what are the simple things I can do, right? I can't reset my entire life in one day. What are the simple things that we can do either together or, take little tools that we can implement in our day-to-day life to help us move forward?
Exactly. And that's really what we're going to continue to do. And one of those nuggets for us has been astrology.
Mhm.
we're always paying attention to what's going on from an astrological level, because it does at times really help to make sense of the insanity that is going on. And what we know in January is that both Mercury and Venus have been retrograde for most of the month. Listen, it impacts all of us differently because clearly we all have different birth charts, but it impacts all of us, whether we know about astrology or not. That much we know, because it really is about the energy that's all around us. And so with both of those planets being retrograde, there's lessons to be learned, both from communication or love, money, all of that. Like, so if you've had these issues going on, know that by February 3rd, Mercury will be out of retrograde. And actually on January 29th, Venus stopped being retrograde. Starting in the middle of February and beyond, really maybe even towards the end of February, things will feel very different. Like, I'm very hopeful about March and April.
And by the time everyone is listening to this, it'll be close to February, which is, the time of Aquarius. It's the Aquarian time of year. And of course, we're also coming into the age of Aquarius, which started late last year, which is really about a time of awakening and transformation, and brings a whole new level of hope and innovation to our astrological environment. So there's that as well. It's just kind of hanging in there in this time of just feeling out of sorts, and know that it's not just you. It's definitely being influenced by the astrological environment that we're living in, but it's going to get better.
That's right. And, so there's so much we can't control, yet the tools and practices that we've been learning and that we're going to continue to learn, those are what are important to help us shift our energy and perspective. It's really about knowing how to handle these challenges. That is what we are hoping we're helping all of you with. We know we're practicing it ourselves, and some days it's easier than others. What we're excited to share with you all is what's coming up on Seeking Center in these next few weeks, because every week will look a little bit different, but each one will educate, entertain, and inspire.
And just like our last round with Seeking with Robin brought you so many incredible people that are still our friends and who we'll still be talking to over the course of the next episodes, we also want to introduce you to some really incredible people that we've had the privilege of getting to know over the last few weeks and months. On February 7th, we're going to be sitting down with Laura Coe, who is an incredible new friend and soul sister of ours. Laura is an avid seeker herself and has written a few books all about the Akashic Records. And for those of you who have not heard of the Akashic Records, in her words, are an energetic storehouse of ancient wisdom. I just love how she describes that. And really, when you tap into the Akashic Records, which she will show us how to do, it does help you learn those soul lessons that you came here to learn.
And just to add to that, every one of us has our own Akashic record, because every soul has a record, and that really is going to encapsulate all of your previous lifetimes, what you came here to actually do in this lifetime. What is your soul's purpose? And that's what the records will help you do.
It's so simple. It's going
to be fun.
Then February 14th, the day of love, we have the incredible Daniel Tuttle. He is going to teach us all about access consciousness. Daniel is a force of nature in his own right. He's inspiring. He will get us all excited about what it means to be empowered and empowering to help ourselves. He'll give us tools and techniques to give us really a better understanding of the world around us and how to manifest those things that maybe we've been hoping for in 2022. Access consciousness, it's really based on this idea that what you say out loud, what you say to yourself, is really a way of subconsciously plotting out your experiences, right? It's a little bit like the law of attraction, but he gives us real tools and tips about that will catch us, really, I think, kind of almost defeating ourselves with the type of words that we're choosing and the way that we're thinking about the things that we want in our lives.
Yeah, he's magnetic. And We had never heard of Access Consciousness prior to meeting our other friend, Irina, who introduced us to Daniel. And we really can't wait to introduce it to you if you've never heard of it. And on February 21st, our friend Bex, who's also known as Cardzi B, will be here. And she is incredible. She combines her intuitive knowing with astrology and tarot. And so it's really her own unique combination. And she's going to be talking to us about 2/22/22, which we can't wait to get her take on that. Wait till you check her out more. She has created this tarot deck called the Badass Bitches Tarot Deck, which when we had our readings with her, we were blown away.
Yes.
And so can't wait for you all to meet her.
So we've got so much ahead. We've got something called Indian palm reading, which is another way of accessing really your soul's guidebook. It's ancient wisdom that has been captured thousands of years ago, but it's individualized to you and your lifetime and your soul. Robin and I both had the privilege of having our Indian palm readings done, and it's incredible. We'll be talking about psychedelics. We'll be doing transpersonal journaling,
feng shui, talismans. There's more mediums, as we said, and more astrologers, because there's all different ways of covering these different practices and rituals that we've talked about. So can't wait to bring all of them to you in the coming months.
Yes. And like we said, the interviews will be so inspiring, but then with each and every podcast, we'll give you key takeaways of how to apply them in your day-to-day life.
Now that leads us to the download part of our podcast. And Karen and I are now on a weekly basis doing what we like to call a mind meld, where we take 10 minutes and we intentionally set ourselves to receive guidance for everybody listening for that week. And so then each week we'll share what our guides want to share with you. Mm-hmm. And the other part of this is that you can do this too. Right. Get a buddy, set a timer, and see what comes if you set that intention to receive guidance for the both of you. In our case, we set the intention to receive guidance for everybody listening. And so what we believe is that you're hearing messages that you need to hear right now. Even if you're not listening to this the week of January 31st and you're listening to this months down the road, you're still supposed to be hearing this message today.
And I think one last thing to add to before we kind of share is that I think a lot of us are doing meditation now, or at least trying to set some dedicated time aside for mindfulness. And what I love about this practice is it does set a specific intention, and it is putting you in that mode of receiving guidance. And even if it's just that 5 to 10 minutes, I'd like to encourage you all that even if you're by yourself, that you just take a moment and write down whatever comes, because you'll be so surprised, I think, with the love and the enlightenment that comes out of that dedicated time.
Yeah. And that is coming from both your inner guidance and the guidance that you can't see around you. You'll probably amaze yourself. It's really one way to seek your center.
All right. So why don't we share what we got, Robin?
Yes. This week, it was all about release and rise. We understand the significance of that right now because of everything we said about January. There's so much that we still all need to release and let go of, and also rise above and see things from this other perspective, and also to feel lighter. Right, Karen?
That's right. Yeah. I think when we each did it in our own way, we got slightly different messages. I saw sort of a flower unfolding, the release of the flower, right, of being this tight bud, and then letting it all sort of kind of unfold into a beautiful blossom.
Well, and I was going to just say, just to add to that really quickly, and you saw that, I saw the two of us holding on to, like driving a car and holding on to this wheel together very, very tightly. And it was like we needed to let go and just trust that we were going to be okay, not hold on so tight.
Yeah. And I think it just fits so well at this time of resolutions and feeling this weight of 2022 coming upon us. if you actually can kind of close your eyes and even think about the words release and rise, there's that feeling of letting go of that weight. There's that feeling of lightness that comes as you let go of those things that you've probably been carrying. Some you may not even realize you've been carrying with you, the anxiety, the fear, the worry, the doubt, all of those things that the last few years really have loaded onto our lives. And that idea of just literally trying to release your hands of holding on to those fears and those constraints and trying to drive your own car, as Robin was saying, and holding on so tightly, there's that freedom, there's that release and sense of calm that comes from feeling like you don't have to control all that you can literally
exactly. It's letting go of expectations as well. Mm-hmm. That whole idea of the word should, really trusting. And when you do that, when you authentically do that, there is this weightlessness that you'll feel, and you can look at things from a different perspective. You can rise above.
It gives us that power back, right? It's that same idea of the choice that we have between love and fear. We have the choice to, even in our minds, release that doubt and worry and fear. It's always something that we have the power to control in our own lives.
Yeah. And so remember that throughout your day, when you find yourself gripping a little too hard to an idea or to what you think you should have been doing, right? To that should. Remember to say release and rise, and just close your eyes for a moment and see yourself floating above and let it go. And then keep going. You will feel differently.
I feel differently now.
Me too. Next, Karen has an incredible visual and meditation for you to do that relates directly to this release and rise.
That's right. So this one came from my mom. A lot of my little tips and tricks come from my mom because I learned them from her. But when she was trying to teach her 6 children meditation back in the day, she used to have us all kind of sit together and literally close our eyes and think about a hot air balloon. So just encourage you to take a moment, close your eyes, picture in your mind a beautiful, majestic hot air balloon rising before you with a beautiful basket underneath. You'll see it tethered to the ground with little stakes. And behind that majestic, beautiful balloon, I invite you to picture a beautiful sky. Maybe it's a melon color. There's a sunset or a sunrise behind it, but it's a beautiful, clear day. And as you picture this majestic balloon, take a little quick inventory of things that you might be worried about or things that might be on your mind, things that might be ahead of you in your day. And as you do, imagine that each one of those situations are placed within that basket. You could either write it down on a piece of paper, you can place it in a little box into the basket, but just picture that situation literally being placed by you lovingly into the basket one by one. When you've completed that and you feel like you've put as many as your worries and burdens as you can into the basket, I want you to picture pulling up one by one the stakes, holding that majestic balloon to the ground. Just take each one out of the ground lovingly. And as you do so, then slowly watch the majestic, beautiful balloon take off into the air. See it rise slowly, slowly as you release those worries and fears and doubts in your mind into that beautiful basket. And watch it rise above slowly, slowly, higher and higher into that beautiful, beautiful sky. It's up above you now. It's getting far and far out of sight. Just let it go and watch it disappear into the sky. And know that that balloon will continue to carry those fears and worries away from you, that you can release them. You can let them rise above you and out of your experience. You don't have to hold them. You can just allow the universe to take them back. And know that the universe will also take care of you in its loving way. It's not something that you have to control any longer. I just love that feeling of, I don't have to control this. I can let it go. I can release it, and it doesn't have to burden me and weigh me down.
That's just the perfect visual. Really, that's a perfect meditation for what we're talking about. So I'm so glad that you thought of that when we had this mind meld. And thanks to your mom for teaching that to you so long ago.
Always thanks to mom. Well, now I know you have another one that you want to share that's a little bit more tangible.
Yes. So hot air balloon, that whole meditation, that's one of the secret powers for this week. And now our second one is all about freezing negativity. This is something that Karen knows. I've been practicing for many years, and then I shared it with her a few years ago. I feel that this really works to freeze negativity from a situation or a person. And I learned it after reading Trust Your Vibes by Sonia Choquette. And Sonia Choquette is someone who had been on the Oprah show. And I remember then getting her book and being fascinated, first of all, by her life. But then she had these very tangible exercises in there that to me helped change my day-to-day. So while reading the chapter on psychic protection, Sonia talks about this practice for blocking negativity. And the goal of the exercise is to block any negativity that's coming towards you and actually freeze it. And so she tells you to take a glass jar and fill it with water. Fill that jar with water. She will tell you to add blue food coloring for added protection. Now, I did not and have never added the blue food coloring, and it still always works. I also don't always have a glass jar on hand and sometimes need to use a plastic baggie, which, listen, I'm not saying to use tons of those because we know they're not good for the environment. However, if you really need to do this and you can't find a glass jar, use a plastic bag. And then what you do is you write out on a piece of paper. So if you're using the baggie, you need to make sure you do this before you fill the baggie with water, because otherwise you'll have problems. But you take a piece of paper, and what you do on that piece of paper is you write the following: I freeze all negativity, known or unknown, moving towards me as of now. And what I do is I write the person's name on that piece of paper or the situation. I usually write that on the other side of it. And then before putting it in the baggie or in the jar, I look at that piece of paper and out loud I say, I freeze all negativity, known or unknown, from, and insert person's name or situation, moving towards me as of now. And then I fold that piece of paper and I put it in the jar, or I put it in the baggie, and I put it in my freezer somewhere in the back where no one can find it. And that's it. And what you will be amazed by is what happens next. So usually, honestly, within 24, 48 hours at the most, whomever or whatever you were asking to be frozen, there will be a huge change. It just happened. It really is magic. And it may mean, let's say it's a person. It may mean that they get taken off. Let's say it's for work. They get taken off the project that you were working with them on, or they somehow their demeanor towards you changes, or they end up leaving the company for whatever reason. Like, that's just with the person that you're working with. It can also work with even family members. You will notice the next time you start talking to them, it's literally almost like there's a magic something that's taken over.
The energy,
something changes.
The energy changes,
right?
Yeah. Again, it's another way of taking control of something that you can actually do. And we have to also say this is not going to hurt the person.
Yes, it's important to say.
You're only freezing the negative energy. You're not doing anything to the person.
Exactly.
And I would actually add that you're probably doing them a favor, because in some sense, you're taking that negativity out of their experience as well, for whatever reason it's there. And I love to tell the story of how when I sold my last house, we had to clean out the freezer in the garage, and my husband was asking me what all those plastic bags were doing there, because I had totally forgotten that I had left them there. So it's really fun. It's a fun experiment to try, and that's what we say about everything that we share with you all, right? That if it feels right to you and you want to play with these magical ideas, try it, because you'll be pleasantly surprised, I think, by how many situations that this can impact and make easier in your own lives. And I just realized too, as you were talking, that this exercise really is another good example of, you can release that negative energy that way and just literally rise above it. So again, it's just little things that you can try that can have a big impact in your day to day.
Yeah. So let us know if you use this. We want to hear from you both about our episodes, and we also just want to hear more about you. Are you at a crossroads in your life? We want to know about it. Are you looking for specific guidance? Are there certain modalities or practices that you want to hear more about? We want to know. Please reach out and email us your story, what you want to hear about. If you have a healer or practitioner that we need to know about, send us an email at connect@seekingcenter.app. If you want bite-sized highlights from today, or you want to find out where to dive deeper about a specific subject we talk about, sign up for our weekly newsletter. And you can do that at seekingcenter.app. Plus, follow us on Instagram at Seeking Center Official. There's lots of ways to get in touch.
That's right. We're here. We really established this podcast. We know that we are all looking for a place to have these really, really important conversations. And as we said before, we want Seeking Center to be both a destination and a journey.
And a journey together. We can't wait for all that's to come. Thanks for listening today. We'll be back next week.
Thanks for joining us.